You were not born to please. But somewhere along your path, you were taught that pleasing others was necessary for love, for safety, for belonging. Maybe it began in childhood, when your anger, your sadness, your frustration were met with silence, punishment, or withdrawal. You learned that love came with conditions: behave well, stay quiet, be agreeable, and only then would you be accepted. This was the seed of self-abandonment. What started as a coping mechanism became an invisible psychic trap. And from that moment on, you began to operate in a state of constant emotional vigilance. You scanned rooms for tension. You watched expressions for disapproval. You predicted needs before they were spoken, offering solutions, comfort, favors, even when it drained your soul. You did it not because you wanted to, but because somewhere inside, you believed your belonging depended on it. At the heart of this deep behavioral pattern lies a profound fear, the fear of not belonging. Alfred Adler understood this well. He said human beings are driven by the need for belonging and significance. But when this need becomes distorted, it breeds compulsive self-sacrifice. You start believing that your value exists only in what you can give up. That being needed is the closest thing you'll get to being loved. And so, you chase acceptance, not joy. Recognition, not freedom. The deeper this belief, the more you lose yourself in the roles others expect from you. Until eventually, your life becomes an echo of others' desires, not a reflection of your own. And the cruelest part? You might not even see it happening. You might say, "I just like being helpful," or, "I'm the reliable one, that's who I am." But that's not the truth, that's the persona speaking. That's the mask you've worn for so long, it fused to your skin. Carl Jung called it the persona, the version of yourself you created to survive, to belong, to be accepted by the collective. You thought you were being selfless. But what you were doing was quietly erasing yourself. You weren't giving from abundance, you were giving from fear, fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of being alone. And here's the hardest truth to swallow: this pattern is not about generosity. It's about control. You learned to control the emotional temperature of every room you entered. You anticipated moods. You avoided saying the wrong thing. You played peacemaker, even when it tore you apart. Why? Because deep down, you believed that being agreeable, soft, accommodating, that was the only way to be loved. And so, you sacrificed your authenticity to avoid being abandoned. But what is abandonment, if not the act of leaving yourself? When you spend years performing what others want, you forget what you want. Your dreams start to fade. Your voice gets quieter. Your body begins to ache with unspoken truth. And yet, the world claps for you. They call you noble, dependable, kind, and with every compliment, the prison walls grow higher. Because the more they love your mask, the more terrified you become of taking it off. Because what if, just what if, who you really are isn't lovable? But let me tell you something that most people won't: the real you, the one underneath the performance, is the only version of you capable of real connection. Everything else is just a transaction. The persona is not intimacy, it's emotional theater. And the more you live inside it, the lonelier you become. Because even when you are loved, you will secretly know, it's not you being loved. It's the mask. The role. The obedient self. The you that performs to be chosen. But that performance is costing you everything. You've come this far not by accident, but because something inside you is tired. Tired of smiling when you want to scream. Tired of saying, "It's fine," when it's not. Tired of being the strong one, the calm one, the one who swallows disappointment like it's water. And that tiredness, it's not weakness. It's your soul begging you to come home. Because beneath your persona, there is a shadow, a part of you that holds everything you've suppressed just to be accepted. The anger you weren't allowed to show. The frustration you were told was ungrateful. The needs you buried because someone taught you love must be earned. Jung called this the shadow, the aspects of yourself you rejected in order to survive. And the longer you avoid it, the more power it has. It doesn't vanish. It festers. Your anger turns into chronic fatigue. Your sadness into numbness. Your resentment into silent self-sabotage. You smile through it. You function. But inside? You're quietly crumbling. And yet, here's the paradox, the shadow is not your enemy. It is your wounded protector. It holds the very fire that could liberate you. But only if you stop running. Only if you turn and face it. Only if you stop whispering, yes, when your body screams, no, because every time you abandon yourself to make someone else comfortable, you send a message to your soul, you don't matter. And how many times have you done that? How many birthdays did you spend pretending you were okay? How many relationships have you stayed in long past your truth? How many decisions have you made not because they felt right, but because they felt acceptable? And how many pieces of yourself have you left behind on that path? You call it kindness. You call it maturity. You call it being easy to love. But deep down, if you're honest, it's fear. It's fear, not of others, but of the silence that might come if you stop pleasing. The silence that feels like abandonment. The silence that echoes with, you are not enough unless you perform. That's the wound. That's the lie. And that's the very lie you have to burn to the ground if you ever want to feel whole. Because here's the brutal truth, your compulsive need to be agreeable, helpful, pleasing, it's not love. It's survival. Somewhere along the way, you were taught that love is. Somewhere along the way, you were taught that love is conditional. That belonging is earned. That your truth is too much, your needs are inconvenient, your boundaries are rude. And so you made yourself small, palatable, invisible, even. You wore the mask so well, you forgot there was ever a face beneath it. Carl Jung warned us, the more you identify with the persona, the mask, the more estranged you become from your true self. And eventually, the mask isn't something you wear, it's who you think you are. Until one day, you look in the mirror and realize you don't recognize the person staring back. Not because they've changed, but because you've edited them for so long they've disappeared. You rationalize it. You say, this is just who I am, I like to help, I like to support people. And maybe that's partly true. But if you look closer, you'll see the fatigue behind that smile. The quiet resentment that seeps in when you give too much and receive too little. The ache of never being seen for your full depth, only for your usefulness. And this is the cycle. The more you please, the more they expect. The more they expect, the harder it becomes to stop. Because now, the image you've built, of the strong one, the reliable one, the selfless one, has become your prison. To break free would not just disappoint others. It would unravel everything you've constructed to feel safe. But here's what no one tells you, that safety is killing you. That safety is a cage disguised as love. Because true love, real, nourishing, soul-deep connection, can only exist where truth lives. And truth requires boundaries. It requires authenticity. It demands that you show up not as the edited, agreeable version of yourself, but as the real you. The messy, flawed, sometimes selfish, sometimes angry, always sacred you. But you can't offer that version to the world unless you first reclaim it from the darkness where you exiled it. This is where the process of individuation begins. Jung didn't speak of self-actualization as a luxury for the few. He spoke of it as a necessity for the soul, the only path out of unconscious suffering. Individuation is the return to wholeness. It is the integration of your light and shadow, your persona and your pain, your tenderness and your boundaries. It's the courageous act of standing in your full truth, even if it shakes everything around you. But to get there, you must pass through discomfort. The moment you begin to say no, to set limits, to act in alignment with your values, guilt will rise. Shame will whisper. Fear will roar. This is not a sign you're doing it wrong. It's a sign you're finally touching the root. The wound. The exact place where the lie was planted. If I say no, I won't be loved. You see, the emotional body is loyal. It holds on to patterns that once protected you, even if those patterns now destroy you. And so when you break the cycle, your body panics. Your nervous system trembles. But this trembling is sacred. It's your soul stretching, waking, remembering what it feels like to choose yourself. And yes, some people will leave. Some will get angry. Others will guilt you. But you must understand, their discomfort does not mean you are wrong. It means you are growing beyond the role you were cast in. And not everyone will want to meet the real you. But those who can, they will love you not for your silence, not for your sacrifice, not for your compliance, but for your presence. Your truth. Your wholeness. Because when you show up whole, you give others permission to do the same. And slowly, the world around you begins to shift. The people who remain are those who meet you with mutual respect, not expectation. You begin to attract connections that nourish, not drain. Conversations that heal, not perform. And most of all, you begin to feel it, that quiet, steady peace that comes when your inner world and your outer expression are no longer at war. This peace is not loud. It doesn't demand recognition. It doesn't scream over your pain. It simply settles into your bones like a memory, the memory of who you were before the world told you who to be. And from this place, you begin to rebuild. Not your mask, but yourself. Piece by piece. Choice by choice. Boundary by boundary. You reclaim your time. You reclaim your energy. You begin to make decisions not out of fear, but from clarity. You no longer say yes because you're afraid of being rejected, you say yes because it's true for you. And that makes all the difference. Relationships shift. Some end. Others deepen. You discover the rare beauty of being loved not for what you do, but for who you are. You stop chasing harmony and start embodying truth. You realize that discomfort is not danger. That guilt is not a verdict. That your needs, your voice, your space, are not burdens, but birthrights. And slowly, you realize something even more powerful. That the cycle of self-sacrifice was never about them. It was always about you. About the part of you that believed love had to be earned. That your worth was conditional. That you had to be useful to be wanted. But now, you know the truth. You are not here to be consumed. You are not here to be convenient. You are not here to be everyone's solution. You are here to be whole. And that wholeness, that quiet, sacred sovereignty, is not just yours to carry. It is yours to live, breathe, protect, and radiate. It becomes your compass. It becomes your anchor. And as you walk this path, others will see the light in you and remember the light in themselves. That is how change spreads. Not through perfection, but through presence. Through one courageous soul choosing to break the chain. So if your heart is beating a little louder now, if something inside you feels seen, if you're holding back tears or anger or hope, don't run. Stay here. Stay with this feeling. This is the beginning of everything. You are not alone on this path. And you never were. The self you buried long ago has been waiting for this moment, to rise. Not to please. Not to perform. But to live. Welcome home.